Alright guys, welcome back to another Dragon Ball Legends video, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. A little bit different in the sense that I don't usually do predictions as the celebration goes on. I usually do all my predictions in the pre-anniversary, and once the anniversary goes, I just do content on it. But considering we're in a weird situation in the sense that no one knows what we're going up to, like what we're gonna see, right? We have no idea. We've been getting a lot of mixed signals and stuff, so I've concocted 6 different picks for the Part 2 LF or even Ultra, because we don't know what Legends is cooking up for this anniversary. So be advised, one of these picks is extremely biased. It's very clear that this is a pick and a unit that I desperately want to see. So take that with a grain of salt. The rest of the picks I feel like are pretty viable, right? So with that said, I have 6 different picks for regular LFs, and then I have 2 picks for a possible Legends original unit. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this team. In this team, I have my 6 picks, and then I'll talk about the 2 possible ones afterwards. The 2 possible LF originals, right? So, the first pick, and it should be to the surprise of no one, is God Goku, Super Saiyan God Goku. Now, maybe I'm too, what's the word? Maybe I'm being a bit. God, the word doesn't come to mind right now. Maybe I'm being a bit forcing with this at this point, but I really want God Goku. I really want Super Saiyan God Goku to get a brand new version of the unit. We haven't had a unit like Super Saiyan God Goku or the Super Saiyan God Goku from Battle of Gods represented in the game really in a summonable fashion since 2018. In a free-to-play fashion, we got one right before 3rd anniversary in the free-to-play Super Saiyan God Goku. But it should come to no one's surprise, this is like my primary pick, because this is what I want to see, right? It's going to be my main focus as far as units that I want to see. My second pick here is along the same lines as Battle of Gods, and that is a brand new LF Beerus. Now, this one's more so a shot in the dark. I don't think they'll do a LF Beerus for an anniversary. I personally don't think it's probably as hype as something like a Gogeta or a Vegito. Definitely not to follow up the first part of the anniversary. But with a release of an LF Beerus, we could be getting a lot of side banner units that are a part of Battle of Gods. Like I said, maybe we can get a God Goku side banner unit or a Rage Vegeta. I feel like those units would be really, really cool, as they are both underrepresented as well. The only Rage Vegeta that we've gotten from Battle of Gods is one that came out, I believe, during 2nd year alongside a Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Ultimate Gohan. So, I believe that's a really good pick. He also, buffs other tags as well. He buffs God Ki and Powerful Opponent as well. I feel like that's a good pick, specifically since I know that God Ki was a big buffed tag during Part 1, considering the Gogeta and Shin. But I feel like maybe an additional buff to God Ki wouldn't be too bad, especially since we haven't seen a Beerus in a long time. I believe the last time we had a summonable Beerus was the Revival Destroyer Beerus, which did the Hakai to prevent your Revival units to come back, and that was a few years ago now. So I feel like Beerus would be a very good choice as a Part 2 LF, specifically because of all the stuff that he brings in as side banner units. So Beerus is my second guess. Now, my third guess is a brand new fusing Goku Black and Zamasu that go into merged Zamasu. Now, the reason that this came about is because of the Part 1 units with their Synchro Gauge. I believe that they could be taking advantage of the Synchro Gauge during Part 2 by releasing different fusing units, such as maybe a Merged Zamasu or a Kefla. But I believe Merged Zamasu is probably along the better lines. Obviously, this Zamasu got a Zenkai alongside the extra buff to LF Vegito Blue with his unique ability or his unique equipment. So I could really see him coming in to buff both God Ki and Future, a tag that hasn't been buffed in a year, as something more so as a good unit. Obviously, let's look at his tags really quick. He buffs Regen, he buffs Potara, he buffs Future, Fusion, Powerful Opponent, God Ki. A lot of variety with something like a fused Zamasu to really help out a lot of different teams. I really do think Merge Zamasu is a really good choice as a prediction for Part 2. Specifically if they're going to take advantage of the Synchro Gauge and have fusing units as well. So that is my third prediction for Part 2 of the Dragon Ball Legends 6th anniversary. My fourth, along the same line as the Zamasu, would be to get a brand new Sword of Hope Trunks. We haven't had a Sword of Hope Trunks since 2021. Again, along the same lines as buffing Future, we'd be buffing Super Saiyans, we'd be buffing Hybrid Saiyan, we'd be buffing Vegeta Clan. Teams that, even though Vegeta Clan got a pretty substantial buff with both of the Part 1 units, Future has not. I don't think Future has had any buffs since last year's anniversary, and I do think Trunks would be a pretty cool unit to have. I feel like even with his Zenkai, he's not very good anymore. He could withstand and he could hold off against fights during PvP pretty well, but I feel like something more could be done, especially with his animation. His animation is great, but I feel like we could tweak it to make it look a little bit better, just like we did with the Gogeta LF. But I feel like this is more on the less likely, because he'd be buffing Hybrid Saiyan, and we don't really need another Hybrid Saiyan buffer again. That team is way too good still. So maybe not on the Trunks, but I could see it happening because of the Future necessity to be buffed. My fifth pick to be able to be the Part 2 unit is a Super Saiyan 4 Goku from the fight against Baby. Now, I see this unit happening for one of two reasons. They wouldn't make such an effort to buff GT at the beginning of the year if they're not going to buff them for Anniversary or Legends Fest. And in my opinion, I do think they're going to be buffing GT for both Annie and Legends Fest. And I do think that if we're not going to get Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta for Part 3, this could be a possible Ultra that we get for Part 3. But I'm also not going to count them out putting Super Saiyan 4 Goku as the Part 2 unit, because for Legends Fest 2023, we had double buffs for Universe Reps in the same celebration with LF Evoken and Ultra UI Sign Goku in the same celebration. I could see it happening, right, that we get Part 2 GT, Part 3 GT. And he also, obviously, he buffs a few other teams. He buffs Saiyan, Sun Family, GT. But a lot of these teams, specifically Saiyan and Sun Family, are already powerful as is. So I can see them foregoing Super Saiyan 4 Goku for something else as the Part 2 unit, and probably leaving the GT buff as the Ultra for Part 3. But again, a really solid pick here. I can also see my final pick here being probably a good enough pick. Now, this pick comes to fruition in taking into account that maybe the Merge Zamasu buff, or the Merge Zamasu Zenkai and the Vegito Blue buffs had nothing to do with Part 2. If those two buffs had to do nothing with Part 2, and they were mainly just to keep buffing both fusions and God Ki and all that good stuff in Part 1, then our biggest hint to it being something Dragon Ball Saga is this Bulma. This is a free-to-play Bulma that they released a few days ago. I'm still in the process of maxing her out. But this Bulma is specifically from the first episode of Dragon Ball, the original series. So I wouldn't count them out to do a brand new version of the Kid Goku who fought DKP. I could see it happening. As someone who wasn't the biggest, I didn't watch a lot of classic Dragon Ball. I feel like I've mentioned this before. I watched Dragon Ball Z and onwards. I've, to this day, not watched a lot of classic Dragon Ball, so I don't get the appeal over it. Maybe the 23rd Martial Arts Tournament was something more that I had an appeal for, because I did watch that arc, that short arc. But I could see something like this happening, definitely, for sure. A dragon, not a Dragon Fist, but like an Ozaru Fist Goku who fought DKP. I could definitely see that as another pick, specifically with the Dragon Ball buff. Do I think that's the most hype thing to have for part 2, to follow up a double fusion anniversary? Hell no, I definitely don't. I definitely see something more along the lines of a future buff or a God Key buff. Again, give me my boy, please. But it's not a bad pick. I don't think he'll happen. I feel like if we're gonna make like a pie graph, right, and we're gonna cut it into the 6 pieces, I feel like the smallest piece would be for Kid Goku. But not a bad pick nonetheless. And with that, we're going to move into our Legends Originals picks. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the character list here, because my first one is a pretty simple one. It's something that many people have wanted to see, specifically since the Legends Original tag was brought up. I would love to see a tag Frieza and a tag Cooler. Specifically, Final Form Frieza and Final Form Cooler. Not this Cooler, the Cooler, that one. The one with like the whole face mask and all that stuff. I feel like that would be such a cool Legends Original unit. I feel like it would buff mainly powerful opponents and Lineage, which they do. Lineage always needs help. Lineage of Evil as a tag always needs help, but less and less recently because of Ultra Golden Frieza, who's a really solid unit still. But I can definitely see them buffing Lineage of Evil with all the Sun family and Saiyans running around. That's a really good pick that I could see them doing. Alternatively, for a Legends Original, Game Original unit, I feel like it'd be really fun, and I'm not the first person to say this either, so none of my ideas are really original, but an LF tag Broly. So both this Broly, Full Power Super Saiyan Broly, and the classic Broly. Let me see if I can find him around here. He should be around here. There he is. LF Super Saiyan Broly and LF Legendary Super Saiyan Broly as a tag unit. Seeing both versions of a classic character that people just love, I guarantee you people will summon for this banner. Specifically if they have some sort of side banner unit as well. They'd be buffing a lot. They'd be buffing Saiyans. They'd be buffing powerful opponents. That's about it. And actually, they'd be buffing movies. They could buff movies as well as a double movie character. So I could definitely see them doing something like that. They'd obviously be buffing Game Originals that needs a buff. They're not a bad tag, but they haven't been buffed since Legends Fest with the Bardock and the Goku. So I can definitely see them as a solid pick for a anniversary choice for Part 2. The only thing I would say is people are probably going to think, oh no, a Legends Original unit for Part 2 like Legends Fest with the horrible banner format and all that stuff. I can see why people would not want to summon on that. I feel like if they changed up the banner format and they added more units to the banner itself, it would definitely make people summon a little bit more. But yeah, with that said, that's pretty much the video. Again, my main picks for Part 2 are either a Fusing Samsu or God Goku. But I can definitely see a brand new Super Saiyan 2 Trunks to be added. But yeah, with that said, that's the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about my picks for Part 2 of the Dragon Ball Legends 6th anniversary. And yeah, with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace!